Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program is brought to you by Parkside Cabin Rentals. Winter is almost here, folks. The holidays are almost here. If you have family and friends visiting this year, why not make it a holiday to remember? Imagine Thanksgiving or Christmas in the Smokies. Visit ParksideCabinRentals.com to plan your winter getaway and find the perfect cabin for you and your group. They have them for all sizes. It is a great website because they lay out all the floor plans for you and you can pick what you like. ParksideCabinRentals.com. All right, welcome in the next two VFLs on our program down there looking snazzy. Sterling Hinton, VFL, and VFL Daniel Hood. Also, not that you're not looking snazzy, but that's a particularly snazzy outfit right there.
I ain't got no words. I'm all right.
That is.
Clear today.
I elevated the snazzy up here. That's what I'm talking about.
All right. Let me show you some numbers here. Penalty woes return. We talked about this earlier. A few weeks ago, we showed that Josh Heupel's teams at UCF were among the most penalized teams in the country. Then they cleaned up those issues and made me look like an idiot for pointing that fact out. Well, they came back, and you see those three of those games are your losses. I mean, that's Pittsburgh, 13 penalties, 134 yards. Florida, 10 for 85. Last night, 12 for 98, including 5 false starts in the first half. It is a question of discipline. I think it's probably also a question when you're talking about an offensive line of guys that have played together. I mean, you got guys who haven't, they're in a loud environment, stuff happens. But everyone points to discipline, and usually that goes back to the coaches have to preach that discipline, have to coach that into your guys. Are those penalties on the players or the coaches, gentlemen? Who wants it?
Players all the time. Players all the time. You're in the game. You know, I'm a guy who believes players play, coaches coach. And when inside the game, I said it a couple of weeks ago, you got to play the game inside the game during the game. And part of that is staying inside the rules. And, you know, and at this level, you know what you shouldn't be doing, and especially false starts in offense. You know what the count is on. I say players.
I just want you to say, he got game, she got game, they got game, where's the game? I'm going to cue that up one of these days. Public enemy.
We got the Matrix in there.
All right. Daniel, do you agree it's players or coaches?
I think it is on the players. I can tell you we coached some kids at Catholic, some of which are playing on Tennessee's team, and we did everything in the world to try to emphasize not getting penalties. Nothing in the world we could do. There was no amount of up downs, no amount of rolls, there was no amount of anything. And
would one of those guys have been a guy we talked about in the last segment?
Yeah. Yeah, it was Cade. Every penalty's on Cade. So, but, you know, you've got that. And I think also the moment gets a little big for some of the teams, too. You look at the 3 games. Those are 3 very important games. Pitt was your first really home game against a quality opponent. Yeah. Florida was your first real road game. And then Alabama, at Alabama, night game, the lights and everything.
And they were fired up last night, too, which I will say – I think you credit Tennessee for a little bit of that. I don't remember an Alabama crowd being that loud in a UT game in a long time, which tells you UT's in the game. How do you keep the fans in it? The other team has to be in the game. So, Marlon, I'll be interested to get your take because as a player, you would say it's on the player. When you were coaching, I guarantee you'd have said, no, it's me, it's coaching. Which is it?
A little bit of both, right? And here's the reason why. You've got some guys that's filling in on the offensive line wise. You talked about 5 false start penalties in the first half. You got some guys that's trying to get familiar with position. Yes, you're in practice and you're getting those counts, but you all know that the guy that's behind the number 1 guy, you're not getting a whole lot of snaps at practice. And so I attribute that to new guys coming in, but then also the moment was big. You're playing against Alabama, who a lot of people in the country view as the number 1 team in the nation. And so I think it took us a minute to get that down and understand that it's a football game. Go play football.
Yeah, only 2 penalties in the second half. They had 7 at halftime, so they did clean it up a little bit in the back half. Wills, and the players or coaches?
I think I agree with Marlon there. It's a little bit of a mix. It depends what kinds. Because, I mean, some of this stuff is your speed of your game and what you're trying to do tempo-wise, right? It causes you to have more mistakes. And when you're trying to get guys up there, especially when they're new and they haven't been used to the speed of the game and putting in a new system, all those things, I think you're going to have more mistakes. But then there's the throwing a guy down on the, giving him a little more want to on the sidelines, dumping him, you know.
Your
That-
former
That's
player.
my guy, though.
Jeremy Banks, your former player.
It's on the coaches.
So, I mean, there's a whole list of penalties that are definitely on the players and no doubt on the players. And then there's some, like you said, that you go into and you go, okay, that I would give that to coaching there.
We should blame it on the refs. The penalties are the refs' fault.
Always
If
play
they
the
didn't
refs.
throw the flag, we wouldn't have it.
I just want to say this. You're not going to win many games when you have 98 penalty yards compared to 64 rushing yards. When you have more penalty yards than rushing yards, your record's not going to be really great. That is a bizarre stat to see from last night. Okay. I want to run through some of the biggest plays from last night. We'll take a look. Was something a good call or a bad call? Was it a good decision, a bad decision, a good referee decision, a bad referee decision? That's next on the Sports Source. Plenty more to come. Come on back.